Hello, my name is Dr. Pamela D. Williams, and I'm delighted to be here today to talk to you about digital accessibility. For the past 6 months, I've been collaborating closely with SIUE's Deaf Services Coordinator, Amy Miller. Amy records American Sign Language, or ASL, versions of course lectures and other media. And I'm the one who takes her recordings and combines them with the original content, syncing the visuals, the sound, and the ASL feed so students can have that complete experience. Early on in that work, I found myself wondering why in some cases captions and transcripts seemed to do the trick, and in other times they didn't. Well, hindsight is 2020, and it makes perfect sense to me now. But at the time, I was in that in-between space I like to call having a curiosity-inspired need for amnesty and grace. By that, I mean it was okay to have some naive beliefs or to follow those rote policies and procedures that I clearly didn't fully understand, but that wasn't my final destination. It's a worthy pursuit to seek feedback that challenges what you think you understand, and especially for those things that you definitely don't understand or simply don't know. Our media accessibility protocols call for captions and transcripts, but there are times when those were inadequate, like the courses I've collaborated on lately with Amy, and I wanted to know why. I needed an opportunity to ask some clarifying questions to quench that curiosity. I'm not a fan of stopping at the point where my knowledge and expertise are questionable, and I don't recommend it for you or the students you interact with. It's not okay to stay there, and by there I mean finding comfort in your ignorance. Growth requires some vulnerability, a little discomfort, and the willingness to learn from people who can stretch your perspective. One day, I got a call to come down to the help desk because a student needed some assistance with an assignment. I was told they'd be working with one of our ASL interpreters, and when I walked in, sure enough, there was Amy. That completely set me at ease, and I began to ask questions to be able to assess the student. The student was already set up at their computer, and the first thing I noticed was everything on the student's computer, the menus, the browser, Microsoft Word, everything was in Spanish. While I'm not fluent in Spanish, I knew enough to recognize this person worked primarily in Spanish. And as we started to troubleshoot, and I spoke with Amy, and Amy signed to the student, we figured out what was going on. I think it ended up being an issue with the assignment settings, but we were able to reach out to the professor and got everything squared away. When I got back to my desk, I had this moment. It suddenly clicked for me why the ASL video feeds I had been embedding in lectures were so essential. The professor was lecturing in English. The captions were provided in English. The transcript was in English, but the students' first languages, and I say languages, plural, are Spanish and American Sign Language. So of course the captions and transcripts alone were not enough. They weren't in the students' languages. The words were there in English, but the access wasn't. From my ongoing work with Amy, she's helped me to see that adding the ASL video feeds isn't just about compliance, it's about equity. The captions and transcripts meet the legal requirements for access, but the law doesn't address whether the experience is genuinely equitable. Here's an example Amy shared with me that illustrates this. If there's a mandate that says everyone gets a pair of sneakers, but all the shoes are a size 8, the mandatory requirements are met, but many people end up with shoes that don't fit. So the spirit of the mandate isn't realized. Equity means giving people what they actually need to succeed, and that can look very different depending on the individuals we serve. So, as I was back at my desk, I had that moment of clarity that I needed about the gray area between providing transcripts and captions and providing the actual resource that would meet the student's needs. This realization stopped me in my tracks. It was really a humbling moment. It reminded me that accessibility isn't about the tools, it's about the person, the people. It's about the connection, context, and culture. And it pushed me to think differently about my work, my assumptions, and what accessibility really means. That experience is one of the reasons I say accessibility is a mindset, not a memo. It's not a checklist we follow or a standard we meet once. It's an ongoing practice of asking who else needs to be considered here and what might I not yet understand about how they learn, listen, communicate, or engage. Thank you.